So I want to welcome everybody. I'm Doug Davidoff. I'm the founder and CEO at Imagine Business Development. It's a lot of fun to see the names that are joining us for the webinar. The vast majority of you have seen me speak before and have followed the blog for some time. So there are going to be some things that we talk about today that I'm sure you're familiar with, that you will have seen and or heard from me before. And I think you're really going to enjoy some of the new stuff and new observations that we're going to share with you today. Real quickly, I'm going to use the term you a lot. And based on the group of people that we have here, some of those yous, if you will, are salespeople specific. So we've got some salespeople on the call. And when I say you, I'm talking about you. We also have some CEOs, some sales executives and sales managers on the call. And in that case, when I say you, just translate that to your sales team. And all those questions will make sense from that standpoint. So it's either you or your salespeople. Like I said, I'm just going to use the term you. As we get started today, I'd like you all to think about the last 5 years. And think about the trend over the last 5 years. How much more difficult, or what has the trend been in terms of the difficulties and the barriers to being able to make sales today as compared to the course of the last 5 years? Where's the competitive pressure been? How's that been trending? A subset of that is, how much more pressure is there on your pricing? How much more difficult is it for you to drive the type of margin improvements you want to be able to drive to enhance your profitability and to be able to invest in growth? And then finally, if we had your customers in a room and we asked them to measure you on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10's great, 1's not so good, and we asked them to measure you on how indispensable you are, how would your customers have measured you 5 years ago as compared to today? Take a moment, if you will, and just give some thought to these 5 areas and think about where the trend has been for your business. Now, while I can't speak to your business specifically, I can speak to business in general. And this is what it looks like for most businesses today. It's harder to make sales, and there's more barriers to making those sales. The competitive pressure has increased significantly, much more pressure on our pricing, making it far more difficult to drive margin improvements. As a matter of fact, in many cases, innovation, differentiation, and value add, while necessary, have had the net impact of decreasing our margins as opposed to increasing those overall gross margins. And fewer customers view their providers as being indispensable. And one of the things that I talk about regularly is today there are really only 2 types of companies. You're either a best company or you're what I refer to as a Me Too company. And if you want to be able to drive faster sales with greater margins and less effort, the only way you're going to be able to do that is by being a best company and becoming indispensable to your key buyers, to your market, to whomever the customers are that you're looking to benefit from your ideas. You see, the last 2 years have introduced us to a drought. We are in a drought today. 20 years ago, and frankly for most of the last 20 years, businesses could get away with doing things and not be penalized for it. Well, being a great business was always a very good idea, and Jim Collins certainly proved how great outperforms good. The reality for a lot of businesses was that good was good enough. What the last 2 years have taught us is yesterday's good is today's nowhere near good enough. The drought that we're in today is characterized by fewer buyers. And the buyers that are in the market today have lower budgets. They have less money to spend. If you want to enhance your margins, if you want to drive greater profitability, you're not just competing with other companies in your industry. You're competing with everybody out there who's asking your customers to buy from them. your enhanced margin is going to come from somebody. Now, not only do we have fewer buyers with lower budgets, but our buyers today have more choices, and the competition has gotten increasingly aggressive. In many industries, we're seeing competition price at near zero margins, making it very difficult to compete profitably. And then finally, customers today just have less attention. They're overwhelmed with complexity, they're overwhelmed with information, they're overwhelmed with noise. And that complexity, that noise, that fear is leading to an increasing rate of commoditization. For us to succeed today, we have to do things that we haven't done before. We call that building a diagnostic sales system. And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about what it takes to build a diagnostic sales system. We're going to start off, and I'm going to share with you some observations about why traditional selling systems, even newer solutions-oriented sales systems, simply don't work anymore. They no longer drive the types of results that businesses need. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between traditional and diagnostic selling. There's a lot of similarities, but there are some very key differences. I'm going to get into some of the key basics and the foundations of what you have to do to be able to build a diagnostic system in your business. I'm going to share with you the 3 keys to accelerating decisions amongst your prospects and your customers. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about creating cash flow farms. And for those of you wondering what is a cash flow farm, simply put, a cash flow farm is a way to monetize your sales process. It's a way to get paid for making sales calls. And then I'm going to share with you the 5 critical first steps that you need to take following this webinar to begin building a diagnostic selling system in your business. Let's get started. So, what's wrong with traditional selling systems?